Liftoff will start in T-minus 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition.
Here's a short story about an astronaut named Orion who discovered that no journey through space can outrun the thoughts that seem to define the self. Orion had spent most of his life looking outward. As a child, he studied star charts by flashlight. As a young man, he trained in simulators, floating chambers, and long metal corridors that smelled of wires and fuel. By the time he became commander of the small silver spacecraft Mind Voyager, he had one quiet conviction buried deep inside. If I can just get far enough away, I will finally feel at peace. So when the launch day came, Orion climbed into the capsule, sealed the hatch, and rose from Earth in a tower of light. Below him, oceans shrank to blue swirls, mountains softened into folds, cities became tiny sparkles and disappeared. At last, he smiled. "There," he said as the planet drifted behind him. "I've left it all behind." But almost immediately, the onboard console began flashing strange destination names across its screen. Planet Approval, Planet Achievement, Planet Regret, Planet Reinvention, Planet Future, Planet Better Than Before. Orion frowned. He had not entered those coordinates. Then the ship's guidance system spoke in a calm voice. "Commander, where would you like to go?" "Somewhere peaceful," Orion answered. The screen blinked, searching external locations for internal relief. Orion laughed. "What kind of guidance system says that?" "The honest kind," said the voice. Orion crossed his arms. "Fine. Take me to Planet Reinvention." The ship obeyed. Soon a beautiful world appeared outside the window. Its cities gleamed, its towers were polished mirrors. Every person seemed poised, successful, and admired. Orion landed, stepped outside, and at first felt thrilled. But by sunset, he noticed something familiar. He still compared himself. He still wondered what others thought. He still felt an ache that whispered, "Become more, prove more, improve the image." That night, he returned to the ship uneasy. "Next planet," he said. "Which one?" "Planet Achievement." Off they went. This world was louder. Trophies lined the streets. Banners waved overhead. Everywhere he turned, people were striving, climbing, winning, and defending their place. Orion worked hard there for several days. He earned medals, he received applause, he was praised by strangers, and yet, when the cheering stopped, the same hollow feeling returned. The guidance voice asked, "Would you like another destination?" Orion sighed. "Yes, Planet Future." There he found endless plans, forecasts, promises, and projections. Everything glittered just over the horizon. Every answer lived in tomorrow. He stayed until he was exhausted. Then came Planet Regret, where everyone told stories about what should have happened. Then, Planet Approval, where people adjusted themselves endlessly to be liked. Then, Planet Specialness, where everyone wore costumes to prove they were more important than everyone else. Every world had different scenery, but the same discomfort traveled with him. At last, drifting alone between planets, Orion slumped into the pilot's seat and whispered, "Why does every place eventually feel the same?" The guidance system waited a moment before answering. "Because wherever you go, there you bring the self-concept with you." "The what?" "The collection of images, labels, memories, roles, and conclusions you keep calling yourself." Orion stared through the glass at the stars. "So all these planets are landscapes made from thought," said the voice. "Different pictures, same mind." He was silent. Then he asked, very quietly, "What if the last place I have wanted to look is the only place I need to look?" The console lights softened. "Now you are near your true destination." A new coordinate appeared on the screen. Inner Observatory. Orion almost laughed. "That's not a planet." "No," said the voice. "It is not another place. It is a willingness." He closed his eyes. For the first time since launch, he stopped scanning the stars, stopped choosing new coordinates, stopped imagining that peace lived somewhere else. And in the stillness, he began to notice the traffic of his own mind. There was the thought that said, "I must become someone." There was the thought, "I am my past." There was the thought, "I need a different world." There was the thought, "I am what others see." He watched them drift by like satellites, and then something strange happened. The thoughts kept moving, but he no longer felt compelled to board them. He saw that every planet he had visited was only a larger version of one inner assumption. If the scene changes, I will be whole. But the scene had changed many times. The ache had remained until now. Orion breathed deeply. Beyond the changing images, beyond the self-concept, beyond the endless effort to become something, he sensed a quiet presence that had been with him the whole time, open, still, and untouched. Not in the planets, not in the mission, not in the costume of astronaut, in the mind before it reached for another image. A tear floated from the corner of his eye. So the journey was never really through space, he said. It was through identification, replied the voice. Orion opened his eyes and looked again at the stars. They were still beautiful. The planets were still shining, but they no longer promised salvation. He gently turned the ship around, not to go back in defeat, but to return without the burden of searching outside for what could only be remembered within. As Earth appeared once more in the distance, he smiled and whispered, "The landscape was in the mind all along." And this time, when he came home, he did not come back as a better image of himself. He came back less convinced that any image could tell him who he was. May we sing, rest, and dance our way home together.